Good evening, guys. I decided to do a reaction video, I guess, to the Niners hosting the Packers tonight. And as you all know, I am a diehard Packers fans, unless you don't watch my channel. Clearly, in my voice, from all yelling you could have imagined, from me about the game and about what happened, is a little gone. So I'm gonna try to make this, I wouldn't say quick, but I guess I'm gonna divulge what I thought of the game, and I'll even go over who I think is to blame, because I'm not gonna shy away from my own opinion on it, and I would like to make that perfectly clear. So overall, I liked how the team played. I knew it was going to be a gritty game. I didn't expect it to honestly be as close, as it was. And I kind of expected the Niners to be, ahead at the end of the game. I think, one thing that we could never see coming was the fact that Debo got hurt. And, the thing is that, he was doing some things when he was playing. Obviously, it was extremely limited how much he did play. So who the heck knows? But that he is, I think, the soul of this passing attack and the person that gets things going on there. You, of course, do have Christian McCaffrey, who I can't give anything but props to for always playing hard, always getting as many yards as he can. Like, to be honest with you, this night, to me, was like the Aaron Jones versus Christian McCaffrey show in a way. I do think Love played, a solid game. I think there were some things that I, saw that I would have liked him to have done differently. No, I'm not talking about the final pass, because we'll get to that, but there were a couple of things. I remember on 3rd and 2 when he kind of missed a pass to somebody, but he looked like it might have been open or something to run downfield, and get the first at least. That ultimately ended up becoming a, a, gosh goodness, I can't even remember. I can't even remember what the, ended up with the drive, but I think for the most part, there's always some growing pains, and there's always things that you go back and you could always correct. And in the heat of the moment against a good team like the Niners, I kind of understand that you still want to keep a pass first mentality. Even though Love is fully capable of running. I mean, I remember, I'll reminisce a little bit here, but I remember when we played the Raiders, who we clearly, we lost to. But here's the thing. I mean, he stiff armed Max Crosby, and I mean, that just goes to show his grit and his determination to get as many yards, and that is like something that you really can't teach, And I mean, we all know that Max Crosby is one of the most tenacious in the league. But moving on from that, a lot of people, I guess, some things that I've read, want to be judgmental of Matt LaFleur not kicking a field goal on the early drive and going for it on 4th and 1. I fully thought that it was just a spot that was really, really short. I feel like they lined it after they blew the whistle clearly and had pushed Love back. I think that, in those kinds of situations, I do understand that, like, why LaFleur didn't challenge. I feel like he maybe should have, but at the time I was kind of like, well, we're not losing. This isn't like a pivotal part of the game, you know? But I also know that, like, with the way that the offense had been playing and scoring on each drive, it was really dictating, what was happening in these games. And it's one reason why, gosh, I'm kind of rambling on and on here, but one of the main reason I think that my Packers for the last however many games, I forget how many it is, have been electing to send the offense out first is because I think LaFleur, in the back of his mind, or maybe he was kind of aware of this, knew that our defense wasn't just going to automatically stop, wasn't going to automatically stop the opposing offense. And it was always tough because we become, reliant on Aaron Jones. And obviously, he's been playing incredible football, including this game. He was one of the reasons we were in it. But, I think LaFleur knew that we need to be able to have a well-balanced offense in order to take a little bit of pressure off of Love, even though, he does pretty well with pressure. But my overall take of the game is that we had several really gut-punching TDs against us, and this kind of leads me back to, like, what was Joe Barry doing? The first one, of course, being the touchdown by Kittle, where Purdy essentially it was a free throw to Kittle, where Kittle just ran by Savage, and I think Savage underestimated Kittle's speed. I think Kittle, when he needs to, can really turn it on, and while Savage isn't a slow safety at all, if you mistime it by a little bit and you give him a little bit of space, a guy like Kittle, you can see what can happen, clearly. And obviously he's a bigger guy too, so it's like if he's getting past you, you're ultimately praying that he isn't able to come down with the ball, which, at that point, it's like, man, yeah, say a prayer. The other obvious play that it's like was a huge blown play, and I think it has to do with, how Barry just isn't committed to putting these guys near the line and playing physical. Was the play by McCaffrey where essentially it was Savage again, and I don't think that either play was really Savage's fault. It's kind of asinine to me that, obviously the Niners are talent and loaded with skilled veterans that have been doing this for a while now. But it's like to put yourself in a situation where, all of your guys get blocked besides the safety, and that's the one shot you have to McCaffrey. If I'm the Niners, I'm taking that every time. And then the same thing at the end of the game, where obviously they get a touchdown to go up 23-17 with McCaffrey, but he essentially just ran it to the right side again. And there's been numerous times this year where Barry has failed to put guys in the box. And in this scenario, I just think it's inexcusable. I don't understand how you can leave the middle of the field that susceptible, even if they don't run it that play. If one of your guys gets beat to the middle, that's a free touchdown pass. So it's not even like you're covering your bases. And you had Jonathan Owens, who, don't get me wrong, is a hard-hitting safety, but he's a downhill safety for tackling, running backs. And like I said, McCaffrey, the Niners are going to take that every time, and Shanahan knows that. So it's like, to me, it's just kind of three plays where it's like, what are you doing? And I mean, it's kind of funny because it's like I said, they didn't really have that much momentum passing, but Barry did give up a couple. I mean, one of them was kind of a freak catch by Jennings, where it's like Purdy had to sling that up. If Jennings doesn't come down with that, that's likely an interception and a game-ending interception potentially by him. But, Jennings goes up, makes a crazy catch when he hadn't done anything the rest of the night. And you give up some sideline throws, and look, you're there within the 10-yard line, and then you just don't play the run with their O-line, knowing that they're just a more mature team than us. Like, maybe if it's a few years from now and our D line's a little bit more experienced, they're able to kind of stuff it and essentially all go in and clog the middle. But it's kind of a nuts thing to say that, I don't hold anything against LaFleur or Love. And I guess one thing that I'd like to say about Love is that obviously it was kind of downpouring all night. And we saw it with Purdy being inaccurate, with guys, not able to come down with footballs. And, it wasn't so much even on the Packers, though. I don't think the Packers really had drop passes. But I think that what happened with Love's throw, and I mean, I probably won't watch the press conference tonight because I'm going to go to bed, but I'm sure people will ask what happened on the throw, and I almost guarantee you that it had to do with the rain and him not able to grip the ball well enough to, get it downfield, or it just, because I mean, the rain coming down, isn't going to make it go 15 yards short or whatever it was. But overall, I think that that's just something that, obviously Love's going to learn from. It's one of those things that, you're not always going to be playing in a rainy environment in the postseason. Because obviously we're in January where it's, usually pretty cold, but it happened to be in, California. But, that's my honest opinion of the game. I am disappointed. But the thing that I'll say is that my Packers, were the youngest team ever to make the postseason. And I had to go and take a look at, the players that we're expected to lose or are free agents or, unrestricted free agents, and that sort of thing. And we're obviously not losing any of the young core that we've drafted in the last 3 years and whatever else that we've been putting together. But it's going to be kind of an interesting thing going forward to see who progresses. Hopefully next year we get to see most of the team healthy. But this is far than what I would have imagined for a team if you had asked me in October. Because it looked like, potentially LaFleur was going to be a fraud, didn't have a good offensive system, Love wasn't playing well, and all of that, and they just turned it around. And these guys stuck together. And I love this team. I don't think there's a single aspect of the players, at least, that I dislike. And I think that they really do need to go out and get a defensive coordinator that is going to have these guys play a bit more physical rather than the standoffish prevent kind of mode, because I think that we have the physicality, and that is what Goody drafts. And you see it sometimes with Barry, but then there's moments where he's just he's playing scared. And these teams, they pick up on it almost instantly. It's just not even close. I mean, they smell fear in the air, or they notice a play call that isn't suited towards, the player personnel that you have. And I mean, you can even tell with some of the players that they would bring their own kind of brand of how they would want to play, on certain plays. And I just need to be able to see that more consistently. And I don't even think it's an excuse to say that some of the defense is kind of banged up. You don't have, who you would normally be starting if it was fully healthy, but you've got to learn to trust. And sometimes I don't think Barry trusts all of his players. And that's not a good foundation for a defense. Otherwise, I don't think I have much more to cover. I really do hope that Barry is gone next year. I think that given that this is the most talented defense he's ever had, and he hasn't broken the top 20, which, this defense to me at the, I wouldn't, at least at the very best in like the first year that they finally emerge as like a contending defense that's like, oh, we're going to have to bring our A game to play against this defense. I think that they can be like the 10th best defense in the first year and in like a solid, state of the art machine in, a couple years of buying into a system. But I mean, even in the first year, I know I'm a patient person, but at this point, I think Barry needs to go. And I think that LaFleur needs to really analyze what his defense needs, and make that a priority of who he wants to bring in, to be the D coordinator of this team. But I do think that is the most focal thing that needs to change. I am fully bought into LaFleur. I kind of questioned it earlier in the year because of like some of the play calls, and whether he might have been losing the locker room or anything like that. But, clearly, the second half of the year, he had kept this team together and, their faith obviously like never wavered with him. And that he's a great offensive mind, doesn't always make the most popular opinion, but he sticks to his guns. And I don't think there's a problem with the way that he coaches. I think that, he always, he's always kept this team competitive. And this year, you really can't say that, like, oh, he's not a good head coach. And it's like, we could easily move on from him if, that ever happened, God forbid, too hastily in any way, but it could always be way worse. Seen some of the coaching jobs in this league, and it's like, man, I would much rather have LaFleur. But those are my thoughts on kind of the Packers, going a little bit more into like what I think should be done with the team. I don't have any names for defensive coordinator, to be honest. Off the top of my head, but to me, I think it's kind of an easy fix. Because while the defense has played well at stints, it always seems to struggle against better QBs. And I mean, you guys could argue, oh, well, you guys did good against, Mahomes and, Justin Herbert. But Herbert, has been on a shaky team, and we all know that the Chiefs haven't. And when we've went up against these teams that are on their game and not making these bad mistakes, Barry is, going to get creamed like anybody else that's not, up to snuff on their D coordinating. But yeah, I'm going to end it there. We're obviously, at like 18 minutes now. But I want to thank you guys for watching. I'm probably going to be doing my analysis of the playoff games in depth. I may not cover the Packers as much because obviously this video kind of covers that, my Packers reaction. But on Monday, I don't know if I'm going to do my podcast on Tuesday, to be honest with you, because obviously there's no Monday games anymore until next year or next season. But on Monday, I'm more than likely going to hold an evening podcast covering the rest of the games. But I want to thank you guys for watching this. Post your comments, what you think about the game and what, your thoughts are. I would love to hear them, and respond in chat. But I want to thank you guys all for watching. And I'll still say this: go Pack, go.